quote unquote. Thank you. Lists is like farming, right? So we use this to pull your farms. We're going to use this to show you how to pull notices of default, foreclosures, people that are behind on their taxes. So this is important here because I like to use the map. I always want it to auto count. And whenever I'm pulling my reports, I want it to export into an Excel file. There's nothing wrong with farm reports. Those are PDFs. I do pull those from time to time, but most of the time I'm going to need an Excel file. And then again, do you want it to be road view or satellite view? And then very important, if you do nothing else, always display your comps pop-up. This allows your customization of your comps in the system. And when you're running comps, I know we would probably say in today's world, comps are almost like, don't even matter anymore because everything's just going to go 20% over the comps. But comps will matter again. They do matter. And you do want to check title comps because the information in the system comes directly from the tax assessor's records. So what you see in the MLS is going to be different than what you see here. So account preferences are where you can customize everything. Here under history is everything that you've pulled in the last 180 days. So any farms that you pulled, any profiles that you pulled, you don't need to re-pull it. You can click on history, go through here and find it. I get a lot of times clients maybe deleted what I sent them or need something different. So you can see, you know, I got 19 pages of stuff in here and I do a very good job of labeling it whenever I run anything so that I can easily refer back. So usually it'll have your guy's name on it and then some disclaimer for me to find it. If you're more organized you are, the better. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. Everybody should know how to pull a property profile, right? It's kind of the first thing we kind of show here. Of course, my internet's now running slow. Here we go. So home and reports kind of does the same thing. You can come in here, all the different ways you can search for information, mailing address, APN, intersection. As I mentioned a lot, this is Google Earth with ownership information built into the system, right? So we can literally zoom out and we can go anywhere in the country should we want. I mean, I'm pulling profiles for my cousin in Colorado because her boyfriend's going through divorce, right? So we could pull anything anywhere, right? So I'm going to zoom in here. We'll cruise over to the valley because that's more of our territory over here. And we can zoom on in here. And actually, let me pull a fun one because I always like this one. Holly Ridge. So I put in an address, plugs right in here. One of the things that always pops up for me, and anytime you've done farm cleanup for you guys that are working on Dynamic Farm and we're doing your cleanup, which is the one-time cleanup, having these images and documents pop up is very convenient. A lot of times when you guys are new users, your documents don't pop up. As soon as my documents actually pop up, I will show you how to make this pop up in the future and why it's sort of important. So you can see here, it gives us a chain of title here, right? It always starts with the most recent recording going in reverse order backwards in history, right? So most recent backwards. It's not in priority, it's just when it was recorded. So you can see here in 2019, there was a release of mortgage, right? Which means he got a new mortgage, right? So refinanced here, that loan replaced that loan. And we could just go all the way back to when this guy actually purchased the property. I'm kind of curious now because trying to figure out when I actually closed this one. Here we go. So 2017 is when I closed it. Now, let's say we want to actually pull these online documents, right? A lot of times we're just using it to figure out who the owner is and names are showing up and certain things like that. But if I wanted to pull this guy's current mortgage, right, that he just refinanced, pay attention. We can check this little box right here. We can hit apply. We check no bundle. Hit the button again. Press apply. Get now. Now we're pulling the document. Don't ask me why it's so complicated. I had to call them to figure out how to do it the first time, and I was like, who thought of this? It is what it is. But we are able to pull documents here. Grant deeds, deeds of trust. Deed of trust is a loan, and grant deed is when you grant ownership. Quit claim deeds. When we're trying to find owners of LLCs, corporations, who signed for what, this is what we look at. We have to look at the documents if they're trying to, quote unquote, protect their information. My internet's running a little slow today. Jade, can you stop, please? All right, so the document went and pulled up. So you can see here it was recorded in 2019. This is his new loan. Deed of trust means loan. Next thing I'm doing is I'm looking for the loan amount. Where is it? Here we go. $1.9 million. There's his loan amount right there. Lender. Most of the time, we don't care about the loan docs unless you're trying to find something specific in here. But if it's an LLC, a corporation, or certain things like that, we want to see who signed for it, right? So this is a CEO of a corporation that signed for the Holly Ridge Trust. So that would be the person we would want to contact if we were trying to get a hold of the owner of this property. Excellent. Any questions on that? Any questions on this chain of ownership? I know it sometimes gets complicated to read, but again, as you get used to it, you'll see, look, release of mortgage means loan got paid off, loan got released. So either their property got paid off or they replaced it with a new loan, right? And then you'll see quit claim deeds, grant deeds, certain things all over the years, certain things like that. You can pull them all here. I'm gonna move on. Now, a lot of people ask, why doesn't those documents pop up when I pull a property profile? I have document retrieval over here checked and starred, right? So over here on the left-hand side, whenever we pull a property up, we can star the things that we want to pull up every single time we pull a property profile. So this is how I have mine set up. I want the property profile, I want the details, I want the comps, I want the transaction history. And then I want this to pop up. See how it's not checked here? So when I pull a property profile, I don't necessarily pull all the documents, but I do want them to pop up so I have the option to choose them, right? And then here's the assessor map as well. I can sometimes I'll check that if I need it, but I don't always pull it. And then the cool part about this property is our nice aerial map feature here, right? So our maps on this program are not 100% accurate, okay? But they're close. For 100% accurate, not 100% accurate, but for the most accuracy, I use the LA DBS website. I don't know why it's showing that website. It's the LA County Assessor's website. I use these maps because they're better than ours and they're straight from the assessor, right? So those boundary lines are pretty darn close. Ours are good, but they're not exact. But we do know that we have an encroachment here, right? So that's what I like about using this program is not only do we see we have solar panels, we have an encroachment, we have a pool, we have a jacuzzi. If you back up here, I closed this transaction about 4 or 5 years ago. And one of the questions was, hey, we got a problem here. We got an encroachment. The first thing I did was I clicked on this and found out it was owned by LA City, right? Which made us all feel much better, right? The city approved the plans to build this. If this was owned by an individual, it would have been a much, much harder transaction to close. But we went ahead and closed this without encroachment coverage, meaning that we're not going to cover this right here. If he has a claim or anybody comes after him to move this or do something, he does not have title insurance to cover this, right? He has title insurance for lots of other things, just not this. Any questions on the profile before I get into what I think most people want to know is farms and defaults and certain things like that? Anybody? All right, going to move on. Quiet group. Okay, so we're going to move on to lists. Guys, I'm on a Zoom. Thank you. Okay, so when we come over here to lists, we have 2 different list types. Okay, farm lists is free, premium is paid. Okay, the reason why it's paid is because SB 133 is a law that California put into place, I think in like 2008, I want to say, that said title insurance companies in the state of California are not allowed to do blah, 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 blah. Whole long list of things. Only in the state of California, of course, not in the other 49 states. But so data that we used to be able to provide for free, we now still provide it. We just charge a nominal fee to make it quote unquote legal. 6 cents per record over in premium. I'm going to show you the differences between the two. Okay. So again, I usually will use this for farming an area, right? We'll come in here, we'll draw on the map and we'll do all those kind of things. So I'll do kind of a quick one there. So I click the little pencil And I can draw on the map. Again, you can zoom in and zoom out. If you don't like this view, you can come into this view. I prefer the satellite. And then once you've drawn your map, you can add that over to the right-hand side. Once you add it, it's going to do an auto count. Remember I had it auto counting? So there's 700 properties here. So if I come into property, you can see I get all these options here, right? So I can get extremely specific. But first thing I do typically is come in here, single family residence, 698. So pretty much almost everything in that block is a single family residence. There's only 3 others, right? But depending on where you're farming, what you're doing, you might have 2 to 4s, you might have condos, you might have retail, all different types of properties. Zoning, year built, there's all kinds of options here. Bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, right? So if you have a buyer who's looking for a specific pocket, they need a pool with a certain amount of square footage and a certain amount of this, we can do everything in this particular program, right? You literally just click on bathrooms. We'll say we want 2 to 3. And a lot of times we'll use this to determine value as well in certain areas. We'll go 2 to 4, 24 bedrooms, that would be a lot. So you can see we took it down from 700 to about 554, just with the bedrooms and bathrooms, right? Maybe we want a home that's a certain over 1,800 square feet. And maybe max is 2,600, right? Because we can't afford to go maybe over $1 million in this area. Boom, we just dropped it down dramatically, right? Maybe we're like, okay, we need a big lot. Come in here to lot size, square footage. We want lots that are over 10,000. There we go, now we're down to 117. So we've taken basically 700 properties and narrowed down to 117 that fit the criteria that we're particularly looking for, right? You can send out a letter, get phone numbers, emails, and try to maybe pick up, you know, a property for your client off market because it is very competitive out there, right? And you can see there's pool filters, there's absentee owner filters. So these are all just your filters that you can put in, okay? I'm going to get rid of these and go back to our initial number of here we go, 701. That's what I wanted. And what's cool about this farm list is under distressed, we can actually pull people that are delinquent on their property taxes, right? Getting a lot of calls, a lot of questions about distressed properties, right? It's the hot topic. The reality is there isn't very many distressed properties at this particular point in time because banks are not allowed to foreclose at this particular point in time. It's going to change, and it's going to change very quickly. Property being behind on your property taxes is the first sign of stress, right? So let's say this was our farm area that we marketed consistently. I can add distressed taxes over here, and boom, there's 45, right? It's a pretty big number. It is a pretty big number of people that aren't paying their property taxes. Now, they can only be 1 year behind, which is not a big deal. You have up to 5 years of not paying your property taxes before something really can happen to your property. So it is usually one of the first things people stop paying. And then another time is it's usually built into the mortgage, right? So if they're not paying their mortgage, then they're not paying their taxes. So it kind of works hand in hand. But this is a pretty big number right here, right? It's over 5% not paying their property taxes. So if we wanted to actually pull this data, we could come in here and we can click next, name it, Title Tuesday tax. Now, another thing, another layer here, the customization. This was very frustrating for me in my first couple weeks using this. I have customized my criteria. You can see it says my criteria updated. Let's see if you need anything. And we could see we got demographics, distressed, all mortgage, all these different versions of it. What I did is I went down below here and I customized what I wanted to show up in my Excel file, right? All these different options. Right, so a lot of times people pull information like, well, the taxes aren't showing, or this isn't showing, or that isn't showing. You might have to put the little checkbox in there and create the template that you want it to be created. Again, customization, good and bad. I kind of liked it when they just did it for you. But I'm going to go ahead and get now. There's my CSV file that I have it programmed to run. And so now it's pulling the tax information, the Excel file with the tax information. So these are just people within the farm that are behind on their property taxes. Little known fact that every single one of you that actually has a physical farm, there is a filter in here. I'll pull it right now. So that's how you download the data, and you get all this data here. This is what I pull every time. But every single one of you that have an actual physical farm, there is a tab under your farm. Whether we pull delinquent taxes or not, it's an automatic filter that shows delinquent taxes, right? Now, 95% of your farms say no, 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 right? But there is, you know, whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6% that are in tax default. So you actually already have this data, all right? And you can actually sort it any way you like. So hypothetically, just go a little deeper here. I'll go grab a different farm here. This is probably a farm. So I'll click on this farm right here. I don't even know what this is. I'll click on it right here. It's not the one I wanted. There's 579 for a mailer. I'm going to show you guys how to sort an Excel file. Okay, everybody should know how to sort an Excel file. I get emails all day long. Oh, I can't see this. Well, you have to expand the region of the Excel file. Oh, can you get me this information in my farm? I literally just come in and I sort the Excel file. Wish my internet was working faster. And it's within 10 seconds, you can sort an Excel file. So all of you guys should really know how to do this. It's really simple stuff. Just like internet is simple sometimes. Come on. I probably have this in here anyway. Just grab an old file. So here we go. Whitegate mailers. So here's an Excel file, right? And a lot of times what I do for mailers, when you guys are doing mailers, so I'm going to show you how to sort. You highlight the whole thing. You go to data. You go to sort. And now you can choose any field you want to sort by. Right? So here's delinquent taxes right there. Oh, delinquent taxes. Okay. Now, everybody with delinquent taxes is right here at the top of the file. Actually, these are all good ones. The bad ones are at the bottom. Right, so here we go. So in this farm, we only had maybe 15 people that are delinquent on their taxes, right? Not a very big number. Another thing which I do when I sort, I come in here, sort, I remove duplicates, right? I do it by mailing address. If it's a single family residence, if it's a condominium, you do it by owner's name, right? That's how you remove duplicates. You're not sending to the same people all the time. This is for if you're doing something that's not your farm. And then another thing that I do is last transaction sale date, right? So maybe you're sending a mailer out. Do you really want to send to somebody who just bought their home about a year ago? Come in here to sort, and we can sort by last transaction sale recording date. I'll go to newest to oldest, boom, and it's going to bring up the newest recordings right here. And you can see it's a 2017 because I've already edited this data, right? I took out everybody that bought in 20, 21, 19, and 18, right? The last 4 years, because they wanted to get a list down to 500, right? So I took about 600, narrowed it down. So everybody should know how to sort an Excel file. And then the other thing is I send a lot of people something and they're like, oh, well, I can't read the email address. You just have to expand the file like this. Any questions on sorting Excel? Feel free to speak up. No question's a bad question. All right. So that was farmless, right? You can see there's lots of other stuff in here, but typically we're going to use this for farming, free, okay? Premium is where we will find default data, notices of default, judgments, certain things like that. Jade, I'm on a Zoom. Okay, so when it comes to finding foreclosure information, notice of default information, certain things like that, everybody thinks there's going to be all these huge numbers, and it's not the case. Okay, I do believe they're going to increase, but right now they're relatively low. I do think lenders are starting to begin with their foreclosure proceedings, right? Because they're not allowed to foreclose, but that doesn't mean they can't start with their proceedings, right? Because let's talk about the timelines, right? Typically, under normal circumstances, somebody doesn't pay a mortgage for 3 months, they can get hit with a notice of default. And then once 60 days pass, they can get hit with a notice of sale. And then 21 days, their property can be auctioned off at the courthouse steps. That's the quickest somebody can foreclose, right? That's about a 6-month process. But it usually goes much longer than that. People will play games, they'll talk to the lender, they might add somebody to title, take somebody off of title, muck the title up, they might file for bankruptcy. They do lots of different things. This was back in 8, 9, 10, 11. The unique part about what's currently going on is not only are lenders not allowed to foreclose and renters don't have to pay rent, they're not even dinging their credit, which I was shocked on. So this whole moratorium has really gone sort of across the board to let people just play an even playing field. And as this begins to unwind a little bit, anybody who's smart that can't afford to pay their mortgages is going to sell relatively quickly. And I think that's where you guys need to start positioning yourselves, because in the next year or 2 years, because you're going to see lenders working with borrowers, doing forbearances, trying to work it out, take maybe whatever they didn't pay into the back end, as long as they can afford to make payments now. People are starting to come back into the workforce, hopefully, right, if we stop giving them an IV of money. But this is all going to change. So you want to position yourself in front of these people. So let's get into, you can see when I click on farmless versus premium, mortgage pops up, demographics pops up. Those are kind of the two, and distress. Those are kind of the three main things that are a little bit different here. And when I run lists like this, I usually don't run a farm, right? You might want to go a little bit bigger. So if you're working a farm, if you are farming, you're definitely going to want to know what's going on in your area, but maybe you want to do the whole zip code and work those for people that might be in distress. All right, so I'll grab a zip code. 91356, sure, sounds good. I'll click on that. I'm going to add that over here. Okay. Again, we can search owner occupied, all the different property types here. But we are more interested in maybe pulling notices of defaults, foreclosures. Right? So we can just click foreclosure, yes. That means all types of foreclosure. 25. So you can see of 10,000 properties in a zip code, there's only 25. And that's total foreclosures. That's notice of default, notice of trustee sale, everything, right? If we come in here to foreclosure type, the pre-foreclosure is what's kind of like the first step. So we'll click notice of default, active, and maybe we run 01, 01, 20, 20 to 01, 01, 2021. We can add that over here. Yeah, that's crazy, right? So it means there's only 5 like current active notice of default. So the other 20 are notices of sale, right? It's very interesting to me. I wouldn't really concern myself with whatever type of foreclosure it was. Just because somebody's a notice of sale doesn't necessarily mean they can't get out of trouble anyway. That's why a lot of you guys need to be taking these classes and educating yourself on how to work distressed properties, which hopefully you took that class a couple of months ago. But so there's only 5 in default, right? So if we wanted to pull this data, we can click next. Now you can see it's 40 cents. It's very expensive. I don't know if I can afford it, but they're 8 cents per record here. And you can't just pull it right away. You have to add it to your cart. I don't know why it's letting me download it. supposed to be going to my cart. There we go. So it went to my cart, right? But do we see anything in my cart? Oh, it actually updated. Okay. So if for some reason you do that and it doesn't go to your cart, log out and log back in. Because a lot of times, at least with the old system, the way it wasn't adding to the cart. So I can come in here, I can put in a credit card. I think I have some balance in here, so I'll use my account balance. I'll hit get now. So now it should be under my history. They'll probably email it to me as well. But you can see the system is a little clunky. There's a lot of clicking and moving around. So here it is. It didn't even let me name it, which is fantastic. And then again, all the different ways you can pull it, right? It'll probably be easier for you guys to read if I do a PDF, so I'll do a PDF. Now it's going to convert it. It's going to take more time. That's why I only pulled 5. Maybe I'll come back. Any questions while I wait for this to load? My 5 records in a PDF. Nothing? Must be doing an amazing job. Sarineh, am I missing anything you want to cover?
No more. No.
I'm going to come back to this. Too annoying for me. So the information's there. They'll probably email it to me. They probably did email it to me. No, not yet. Okay. So not only can you download it here, they also email you the file, which again, I find annoying, but at least it's overkill, I guess. So we'll come back in here to lists. And again, past order lists, another way of pulling our past criteria. A lot of times I need this because I want to look at the map. So you click on your past order lists, it'll pull this up here, right? So I can click on something and then I can pull the map for the area that I pulled my old farm for. Because a lot of times you guys might want the photograph of your map. Somebody's going to go door knock, right? So this will pull up an old map. I'm going to cruise back to premium here. So I just did a notice of default search. I'm going to do it one more time very quickly, and then we'll do something else. So let's do a different one just for fun. 423, that is Sherman Oaks. Add it over there. We're going to get rid of the polygon. Single family. Let me just start over again. Back to premium. There it is. Now my PDF's done. All right, so we got about 9,000, almost 9,000 properties here. This is in Sherman Oaks. And again, I'll go distressed. I will go foreclosure. I'll just pull them all, right? If I'm going to be working them, let's just pull them all. 10, right? So are we talking big numbers here? No, right? We just pulled 20,000 properties and found 35 properties that are in foreclosure. And we don't know what level of foreclosure they are. We don't know how long they've been in. But when we pull the data, I'll go back and now pull the actual data since I think it's ready. There we go. I'll probably email it to you. No, that's an export file. Here we go, PDF, yay. So another way to look at it. So you can see we have our address right here. So it looks like I pulled Tarzana, okay. So Corbin, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet. Last transaction recording date here. That's their current tax amount. So the tax amount is not very high. Kind of clunky to read. There's the APN number. Oh, these are different properties. Okay, but where's my foreclosure information? Here we go. Delinquent, yes. Foreclosure, yes. Notice of default. That's when it went into foreclosure. So this went into foreclosure 4 or 5 months before even COVID hit. I thought this would be easier to read. It's harder for me to read. So this one's a condominium. Again, went into foreclosure a month or two before COVID hit. I think majority of the ones that you're going to see were in trouble pre-COVID. And COVID really sent them into the edge. And then you're going to see a whole nother group that is going to be new coming into the market. All right, so that's through PDF. I prefer an Excel file, but now you can look them up, door knock them, mail to them, get their phone numbers, call them. That's foreclosure information. As you can see, we're getting very low numbers on the foreclosure data, but it's going to increase. And this is how you run it. Another way to do it might be to put it in your dynamic farm. Okay. So before I I'll segue very quickly onto this. In your dynamic farm, you guys all have
Sorry,
your phone.
Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, are you gonna show them later, going back to title profile, how to pull profiles? I don't think you did that though, right?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, you did show them how to do. Okay, I'm so sorry, I missed that.
Okay.
Never mind. Go ahead.
So we'll come in here and we'll grab Toluca Lake. Right. So whatever your farm might be, this is going to be your farm in this area. We can come over here to premium farm. Notice the defaults, and you can see, so there are none currently available in Toluca Lake. Right. And then there's notice of trustee sale. Right. So your new records that come up will be available. Right. So there's only been 3 in Toluca Lake in the last like 2 or 3 years. Right, so again, very low numbers. But that's another way of doing it. It'll automatically update you. You can come in here and you could purchase the data direct from Dynamic Farm instead of maybe running it through here. What I would do if I was going to run this on a consistent basis, this is going to be probably good for you guys, is I'd run the zip code. All right, let's run a different one here. We'll go to 436, search, add. So again, I think I already did the zip code. Let's do something else. 91367. Okay, it's about 12,000 in this particular zip code. I would come over here to distressed, foreclosure, pre-foreclosure. See, because you pull all your foreclosures first, right? So you can pull them all right there, and there's 21 here. But then maybe next month you want to run them again, right? So you can come in here and recording date, and we only want to pull the most recent ones, right? So we'll pull everything from 05, 01, 20, 21 to 05, 24, 20, 21. Now, let's be clear on this. This system is about 3 weeks behind, so it's probably better to run it the month prior, right? So let's just say we were going to run April to May. That's how I probably recommend it. So I'm going to get rid of all of these, and I'm going to run this active one here. Oh, I have all here. Oh, so here we go. So there's 4 current actives in this particular zip code, right? So I wouldn't actually pull it. What I would do is I'd come in here and I'd save this. And I'm going to save my criteria, my NOD 91367 criteria. Save it. So now, next time I come in and I want to run this for May, and then I want to run it for June, and then I want to run it for July, I come in here to my saved lists, and I click on my NOD criteria, and it automatically pulls the data up here. What do? I come in here, I change the date range, to the new dates, and then I pull my new list. So now I'm keeping myself up to date on how to pull this current data. And this is only 8 cents a piece. It's very cheap, right? For those of you that maybe are going to specialize in this, you're going to want to subscribe to a website like Foreclosure Radar. I think Foreclosure Radar is pretty much the best bang for the buck. It's like 50, 60 bucks a month. They're going to constantly update and do all the work for you. You can do it on a massive scale. But if you're going to do it on a smaller scale, this is how I would recommend. Save the criteria, constantly run it in here. Okay.
Mark, is it foreclosure data or is it property data or two different ones?
Say that again.
Is it foreclosure radar or is it property radar?
Oh yeah, they renamed it to Property Radar because once foreclosure stopped, they had to keep their monthly subscription. So it's Property Radar. Eventually, they'll probably rebrand it to Foreclosure Radar for a little bit to do that. But Foreclosure Radar, Property Radar, paid subscription service for my clients that strictly work NODs. That's their business model. For those of you that are farming agents or work your sphere and certain things like that, I recommend doing like a zip code or two that you work, that you're familiar with, and just be in contact with those people instead of trying to do it on a mass scale if it's not something you've done before. Other things here, just kind of showing you other things that you can do. Mortgages. So this is a new unique one. Let me get rid of all these, get rid of all that. So we got this zip code here, and I don't think there's going to be, I would have said a year ago, there was probably a pretty good amount of these. I don't think there's that many at this particular point in time. But if we wanted to come in here and pull current loan to values, so combined current LTV right here, that's current loan to value. And I want, let's say 95 to 150. There's going to be some in here because I have to filter this out. 169. But I have to come into here and do the financing type. See, this gets a little complicated. I'm going deep here. For those of you that are still following along. So lender type, bank, mortgage company, lending institution, subprime. Okay, so that number's still high, but I need to do loan type, right? Watch what's going to happen. I go conventional, we're at 120 records right now. Conventional financing, FHA, private party. Right, so that number went from 120 down to 63, right? And why? Because a balloon has a balloon payment makes your mortgage bigger. Construction loan makes your mortgage bigger in terms of how it looks. A HELOC makes your mortgage look bigger. So there's about 63 properties here that are showing potential short sales. Actually, it's kind of more than I thought. The reason for that, in my opinion, is that this system, just like Zillow and Truly and all these other systems that are sort of AVMs, haven't caught up with the new current data. So this 63, I believe, is probably more like 15 or 20, to be honest, that are underwater potential short sale candidates, right? So another kind of good way to pull data, right? If I'm going to run a zip code and then I got 20 or 25 notices of defaults, and I got about 20 or 25 here that might be short sale candidates, that's 50 people that are in distress that, let's face it, they're going to have to do something within the next year for sure. So again, I hit next, pull the data. For those of you that maybe haven't chose a farm, again, we can also farm by demographics, right? Ethnicity in here, you can see all the different ethnicities, right? So if you speak another language, if you're from another country and you want to market yourself to that group of people that are here in LA has probably the largest population of all different types around. So there's lots of different ways to market yourself as well. It doesn't always have to be a geographic area.
Mark, can I say something about that really quick?
Sure.
For Spanish speaking, and if you're going to market to Spanish ethnicity, then we do have flyers that are translated into Spanish. And the buyer and seller guide, that is also written in Spanish. So when you guys get on the call tomorrow or launch the recording, I pretty much show you where to access this stuff. But if you do want to market to Spanish speaking, reach out to us. We have some resources.
And for all your other ones, sorry, we don't have it. It's like only Spanish.
I'm sorry. I know, right?
But you could see what I did was I took this zip code and then I just ran it for Hispanic population, and there's 600, right? So it's not 100% accurate, but we know that these 600 are of Hispanic origin, living in Woodland Hills, right? Really good farm, right? Especially if you speak Spanish, right? And all these different ethnicities apply. So I did a lot here, and it was highly technical. So I think we have a recording here for you guys to go back and try to figure things out. If something was unclear, if something didn't make sense, if you want me to do something again, please let me know, because I used history, I used past orders, I used saves list, I went into cart, I bounced around quite a bit in here, and it's just navigating the site is really all it is. But a lot of content for a short period of time. This is it. Open forum, questions, concerns, anything you want me to show. We got 16 people on the call. Usually helps everybody. We'll stay afterwards. So if you guys are done and you want to sign off, thank you. Otherwise, we're here to answer any questions. Is that a bye, Joanne? Thank you for keeping your screen on the whole time. At least I got to look at somebody.
Mark, just bringing it to a very like ABC level here.
Yeah.
Just talking about when they're mentors or when they're trying to contact some, or when they're working with a buyer, when they're working with the seller, like from a very bird's view, why should they go onto Title Pro? Like, why should they go onto the system? Like, if they're going to rely on us for farms, if they're going to rely on us to help them, you know, with the other stuff, what is the system good for just on their day-to-day aspect? And then maybe talk about the app that they can research stuff there too.
Good question. So the app is called LT Touch, or if you want to put it in the chat room. LT Touch, download it to your app store. Same username, same password as this. You'll need a rep code. It is STIP21. Now that we're back to door knocking, I am starting to meet with people in person and help them maybe set up the app for their door knocking purposes. Some people like books, some people like the app. It really just depends on what you're into. But LT Touch allows you to pull property profiles and farms and walking farms on the app as well. It's very easy to use, especially trying to pull turnover ratio. But Sarineh, bringing me back down to earth for the newbies. Property profiles. Why? What is this system good for? Why do we use it? Well, again, I'll run an address here. We'll go there. So we're going to pull up the property profile here. Again, we want to verify ownership. You might be talking to somebody that says they own the property, and then you come on here and you're like, hey, well, who's Barbara? Who's Dale? Who are these people? Your name's Mike, and I'm showing a Dale that owns the property. What's your relation to this person, right? So A, we're going to check ownership. B, again, aerial maps, what's going on with the property. We'll go ahead and pull the property profile. Bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, lot size, comps, what they paid, transaction history. Again, so if I want to pull documents here, here's where I can run my comps. I can customize them. I'm not going to customize them. I'm just going to move on. When you're running comps, you really only need 3 really good comps. So, and you can convert this to a PDF. You can email it. There's our address. You show the mailing address is showing different than the actual address, right? So what does that mean? That means technically it's a non-owner occupied. Is that 100% accurate? No, but it's probably 95% accurate. You can see it's showing a deceased trust, right? So it's probably been owned in the family for quite a long time. We're showing a 3-bed, 3-bath, built in 56, almost 2,400 square feet on a 7,200 square foot lot. Zoning, resident, single family. Now, what if it's being advertised as a 5'4", 3,200 square feet, right? Well, it means we probably need to order permits. The tax assessor, let's say I add 1,000 square feet to my home, they're going to reassess me. They're going to make me pay for the permits, but they're not going to add the actual square footage of my new property, my newer house, to any of these websites. They're not going to do it. So we need to order permits to verify that all the work was done and complete, right? And permitted. If it wasn't permitted, obviously we have a pricing issue. Usually it is permitted, we just pull them. Now a lot of people say, hey, I want it updated in title. There's a number you need to call with the tax assessor called tax assessor updating office. Call them, they come out, do an appraisal, and then they can update these records. Takes about 90 days. All right? Now you can see with this particular property, look at their tax amount, $1,700. I said they've owned it for a long time. Yeah, this indicates that literally they bought this thing for 115 grand back in the day. Now this website only goes back to 96. So in a situation like this where we really wanted to pull the full chain, we wouldn't get the full chain here online because they've owned it pre-1996. We would have to order that from customer service. We have a customer service email, a phone number that you can call them. Sarineh, if you maybe want to put that in the chat if you can, where they can pull all this information for us. I had a situation today where somebody sent me over a profile, a lot of questions, and the questions were not answered online. So I have to go to my customer service, pull a full profile, and check it all out. Here's all the comps. And you can see here, it's crazy. We got one comp here for 750 grand, and we got comps up to 2.4. Right? So obviously pretty eclectic. An average of the comps, right? They're showing 3.3. The average of the comps is actually pretty close to ours, and it's showing median value right around 1.5, 1.6. Where are we here? We're somewhere in the city, so that makes sense. Again, transaction history. Well, it's kind of important to know what somebody owes against the property, how long they've owned it. Do they have mortgages? Do they not? Do they have liens and judgments? Do they not? It's going to matter with how much they're going to net, right? So if I'm going on a listing appointment, I need to know all this stuff, 100%. And I'm going to guess on certain things, and then maybe ask them certain questions. But you can see it looks like they just have one loan for $129,000. All the rest of these are old loans. They've just been refinancing over the year. Looks like here in 2006, they kind of took some cash out. Right? They bumped it up to 133, and then they've just been at that same loan amount the whole time and just continue to refinance, right? And they refinanced here. So we got a property that's worth about 1.6 and they owe about $130,000, right? So they're in a very good financial position. What if that's not the case with a short sale default? We need to know that information. And then here's detailed transaction history and all that good stuff. So I hope that kind of answered why the property profiles are important. I spend hours and hours on this thing, kind of looking things up and see what's showing and what's on Zemus, what's on the LA County assessors. Does it all match up? You know, because not everything's 100% accurate in this business either. So you want to verify and check, you know, cross-check everything. Good question, Sarineh.
Awesome. I actually put customer service phone number, email, Mark and I, our emails. We have that class tomorrow, and then of course we do take one-on-ones via Zoom or starting to take it in person. If you need anything, we are 100% a part of your, you know, extension of your business. And I don't know anything else, Mark, if they have questions or anything.
We'll just stay on here and chat. If anybody has any questions, they can stay on. Otherwise, have an awesome day. Enjoy the heat. Kind of feels like summer for the first time. And we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.